Today we're going to record the introduction so everyone else in the group who can't join can hear who y'all are. We're going to start in screen order. So on my screen, I see Nanette first and then Ryan. So just tell us who you are, where you are, and just what's on your mind right now. Like, what's the current status update?
Okay. Hi, I'm Nanette Maddox, and I am working with my partner, Leah Campbell, who can't be here today. We haven't signed the lease yet, or the perfect one. We're waiting on negotiating for a place that would be perfect in downtown Cary. And in the meantime, we're just trying to build our community and continue under this whole business. We've met with our town commerce development person and asked for some funds from them. We haven't heard back from that. And we are going to be talking this week with an investor who owns a incubator co-working space, and he needs to expand, so we need to negotiate something with him. It's kind of interesting. That's all.
Awesome. Thank you, Nanette. Very curious about that investor person and whether there might be a partnership to be had there.
Yeah, we're hoping. We've heard that he needs to expand his space. He has been taking businesses and helping them grow, and then so he's kind of grown out of his space and was actually looking to buy the building that we were interested in. Somebody else bought it. So we know he wants to expand, but wondering if there's some way we can partner with him with our female focus niche. And so we have to try to frame some kind of a conversation with him and see what kind of options we can come up with. He's interested in working with us.
I'm so excited at the prospects of that. That sounds really, really promising.
It is. It is exciting.
Assuming that this is somebody you can get along with and would like to do business with,
Right.
That's probably the hardest part. But if you're able to find enough common ground culturally and values-wise, then that's exactly the kind of thing that suddenly makes all the hard parts easier. So
right.
Really exciting. Okay, very cool. We will definitely come back to what's this investor person's name, just so I have a reference?
David Gardner, and it's called Cary, the co-founders, the Cary co-founders.
Cary
the other pitch to that is he's been talking with HQ Raleigh, which is a large co-working group that's in Raleigh that already has 3 locations. So we're a little nervous about that, but who knows what'll work out.
Yeah, but he doesn't know that he's getting in on the ground floor of Leah and Nanette empire.
Right. And if he wants to support new business, this is his way to do it.
There you go. Okay, very cool. We'll get into more into that if we have time.
Okay.
But man, we are filling up. We are almost at Brady Bunch status. Very exciting. Hey, Lada. Hey, Herman. We're just doing our introductions and updates. Name, where you are, and just a quick update on your situation. Ryan, you are on deck, and then we'll hear from Jadia.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan All. I'm the program manager for a co-working space in Miami. We're in the heart of Overtown, and last week was actually really exciting. We had a big group come in. We literally filled up upstairs. So I think we had about 30 people upstairs, and it was a big master plan of what's going to be changing in Overtown over the next 5 years. So we had, private investors and the public community redevelopment agency come in and explain their plan of how everything is going to be changing. A really big development is that the Brightline train, which is this train that runs right now from Miami to Fort Lauderdale. They just started it. It's actually going to be running all the way from Miami to Orlando. So it's going to be like an amazing addition. And the station is actually about 2 blocks away from us. So
Whoa.
Yeah, we're in a really interesting place. They're essentially planning to change this area into a cultural entertainment center. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening here. So people are definitely going to want to hop on being in this co-working space. Besides that, working on planning for our classes, doing our class segments so that we could schedule co-working sessions in early June. So that we can, drive membership with co-working sessions. So we do have stuff that I'm set up. We're supposed to be doing training for our interns anyway. So it just naturally coincides. So we're doing that and focusing on setting all those things up to drive membership, because that's our big thing right now. We already have our space. It's looking awesome. And, trying to get more people in here. Oh, and I was going through a lot of the Newark City's documents inside of the co-working toolkit on community building and doing like some different community building exercises and stuff in the space. So just started doing some daily scrum meetings with my team in the mornings and like inviting people from the space to actually, come and check it out.
That is so cool. You're gonna have to tell us more about how that's going down, because we used to do that at my space as well, and we found it really effective just for everyone to kind of know what everyone's working on, and identify opportunities for collaboration as well. So I dig it. Very exciting, Ryan. Cool. All right, Jadia, take it away. Welcome.
Hi, so I'm Jadia. I'm the Director of Operations at Launch House.
I'm Eddie. I handle communications and marketing for Launch House.
So we're a co-working community in Cleveland, Ohio, and I guess the biggest update is our second location in Lakewood, Ohio. So Cleveland is kind of like an east side, west side kind of thing. It's really weird. No one crosses over. So we have one on the east side. Now we're opening one on the west side. So I think last week was our first week of the soft opening, and then we'll officially be open first week in June. So we do have a partner over there and kind of dealing with some growing pains of us not running it day to day. And so we have a ton of questions and concerns with that. But other than that, we have our how-to series up and running, which is it's like back to basics of business education for small business owners here in Cleveland. So those we have also been having growing pains with. A few have been going fantastic. Others we realize we're crowding them, in, or they're too expensive, or this is the first thing we've ever charged for. So we've actually been in business for 10 years, but just within this last 2 to 3 years, we've been actually starting to treat it as a business. So we're just trying to help the CEO actually become profitable now, and dealing with our first expansion.
That's it. That's perfect.
That was amazingly efficient, Jody.
Thank you.
We spent a lot of time diving into any one of those things, and let's definitely make some time to talk about at least one or two of those things. Great. All right, man, we are grooving. We got 9 people. Hey, Jen, by the way, when we get to you, if you can turn on your camera, because then we're going to have Brady Bunch status. Just saying. Okay. Kiri. Hello, Kiri. How's it going?
I'm in Lexington, South Carolina, outside of Columbia, and by the end of the day, I should have my lease in hand for our space.
Hey.
Very excited. So we will be ready to open definitely by August the 1st, hopefully sooner. And so right now I'm scrambling and looking into, software to manage the co-working space and automate as much as possible, and insurance, and trying to get some sponsorships for some of different things like naming rights to the rooms. Last week I met with our economic development people for our town and our county to just kind of play meet and greet and that kind of thing. So that's what's going on with us.
Well, super exciting. What a big day for you.
It is. They've been promising it to me for days, but they said Friday it would definitely be here today. But everything's been agreed upon. Financials been
Congratulations.
approved, just waiting on the actual physical lease.
Okay. Should be fun. Let us know what comes up for you as you read through the lease, and hit us with any questions about the terms.
Well, thankfully, I've got a very dear friend who used to write leases for this particular company. So she's going to translate it into English.
Is she available to charge by the hour for the rest of us?
Probably. that'd be a good side gig for her.
Yeah, I mean, co-working space lease interpretation is probably a whole industry to be. Brady Bunch status, screenshots. All right, on 3, let's all smile. Okay? All right, 1, 2, 3. Yay! Awesome. Oh, this is going right on the website. I'm so excited. Very good. All right. Kiri, thank you. We got Justin next. Justin, what's going on over on your side of the world?
Yeah, today's a pretty good day. We've we're hosting a mixer for the Kernville Chamber of Commerce. So we're going to have all of the business folks over here, and we're also treating it as a launch party. So we've got a lot of other community members from the Valley, and some folks from the co-working space down in Bakersfield, and kind of getting a lot of people together, kind of showing what we're doing, promote what's coming down the line. We just got a radio ad up. It's kind of unusual, I think, for co-working, but in our particular neck of the woods, radio actually has a pretty decent amount of penetration. And it's fairly affordable here for what you get, because the radio station's having some issues. They don't have as much they don't have a lot of ads right now, so we're pretty much every commercial spot where our ads playing once or twice. And we've got our first Coding for Kids class is going to be starting soon. That's going to start in June. We've got a couple organizations that have already offered to sponsor some kids and provide that opportunity. And the community is getting really excited about that, because that's in our community there. Across the various schools, there aren't any STEM programs or anything like that. So this will be kind of the first class of its kind up here, and so that's really exciting up here.
Justin, how many? So you're saying you're launching Coding for Kids class. There's not a lot of STEM programming, and you're having people coming to you offering to sponsor it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's definitely in this area. There's some pockets of the Kern River Valley where we're at. Definitely some pockets of deep poverty, and where there's kind of a generational poverty, where these kids are have the mindset of, well, this is the way my parents were, this is the way my grandparents were, this is the way I'm going to be. And I think getting them into a classroom and being like, hey, why don't you sit down and try building something? And they figure out that they can create something, and they can do something amazing. I think it is a great way to kind of help break that cycle. So the local educators are really excited about it. The community is really excited about it, and we're starting to get people approaching us asking to sponsor this class and future classes. So that's pretty exciting.
All super exciting. Who here is running like educational programming or intending to?
That's me.
Yeah, Justin, you can raise your hand. Okay, so just the 3. Okay. I was just wondering, maybe there's an opportunity to sidebar on that a little more. Okay, cool. Thank you, Justin. And Herman, what's going on in your world, man?
I'm Herman Ayala, Workspace Suites out of Houston, Texas. We're actually in the suburbs, so we're about, I'd say, 20, and we have been open now for about 6 months, going on 7 months, and basically we had a day this week where, we had 1 week where we actually filled up We had daily offices, daily desks rented out. We had virtual office people coming in, and a conference room, filled in. And it was basically like one day that I was hoping to have at some point, because at the very beginning it's kind of lonely when you first open up and there's no one there. So things are moving along, and we're happy about it.
That is so exciting, Herman. When you first joined, didn't you have like no members in the space?
Yes, other than myself. So yeah,
present company. Well, you got to tell us your secret for how to fill your space in 6 months.
Well, it's not full yet, but there were days, where there were people there, so it's great.
Just from one day full, you can say that you
Yes,
been able to fill the space.
well, yeah, definitely.
All right, congratulations. We'll get more into that. How are things in Miami for you?
Things are sort of slow. I had to find my real estate broker. Since New York, I've gotten no leads, and I'm doing all the work, so I'm sort of in a standstill right now. Really enjoyed New York, even though I did get sick, but glad to be back.
Have you gone and hung out at a space called Tribe yet with Ryan?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I feel like it might be good to just kind of go hang out and see
Sure.
who's
Yeah.
maybe
I agree.
there's some support. But we want so I'm skipping for a second, but like one of the things that's kind of universal, even though everybody here is at a very different status, the general thing that I want to emphasize with all of us, and I have to take my own advice with this, is we want to be making ourselves less and less alone in our efforts. What we're doing is something that's highly valuable to the collective, to the members, to the other stakeholders involved, and to the town and the city and the world. So there's lots of people who share a vested interest in the success of our endeavors. And the more that we can create a sense of invitation and alignment around that, the more other people can do work that can help make the success of the project easier without it all being on our own backs. And so one of the things I want to try to find is how each of us can be practicing that more in the coming week, for example. Who are the people we should be trying to find, or the groups that we should be visiting, or events we should be attending, or whatever, and then setting on a path to make our lives easier. So in theory, what I would love is for maybe by the end of this call, all of us can say something about what we can do to achieve that end in the next week, even if it's a tiny thing like text 3 people that who can help you or whatever. And then next week we can kind of like check in on how did you do. But anyway, you got me ranting, Lada, but I'm feeling you. I know where you're at, and let's get you some momentum and some more support, because that way you shouldn't have to be slow on your own.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so I ranted for a little bit, but we still have not yet heard from Jen. So Jen, first of all, how are you doing post a lease signing? Are you still aglow? How are things going?
Yeah, for the most part, it was a crazy week. I posted the news on social media and LinkedIn, etc., and I got 10 sales inquiries. So I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, somebody asked me for a tour, and I'm like, I don't even have a key yet. So yeah, I didn't exactly say that, but I was like, yeah, well, when we start to set up tours, I will be sure to let you know. So I put out the question of how do you manage this? So right now it's just all kind of going in a Google Doc. Planning to follow up with those folks as necessary. What else? I had my first coffee shop sales recruit, I guess. My daughter and I went to a coffee shop after school. She's 4.5, and this woman had a 3-week-old baby. And my daughter just goes up and starts talking to the woman about her baby. and that led into a whole conversation. And I was just like, are you working from home? She's like, oh, I'm freelancing. And I was like, oh, well, I'm opening this space in September if you're ever looking for another place to work. And before I got home, she had already signed up for my email list. So that was pretty cool. So
Jen,
I should give my daughter a commission.
I don't want to come off the wrong way here in terms of overemphasizing this, but man, your daughter could be your best salesperson ever. You've seen it, like I watch Shark Tank every now and then with my dad, and I like, it kind of drives me crazy because I don't like worshiping investors, but it's like the one with the kids and the dogs. Those guys always are, just a hit. They're, everybody smiles, everyone's having fun. And I mean, for your space specifically, with the focus that it has, I feel like, oh man, you know what? I almost feel like your website, like the first thing somebody sees when it's the website, should be like a video of your daughter explaining the co-working space. You just melt the whole city.
The other day, she was really angry at me, and I was asking her to do something, and she goes, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to go to Day House. That's the name of my co-working space. I'm up in the, hello to all of you, I'm Jen. I'm opening Day House Co-working, and we're opening in the suburbs of Chicago, hopefully September. So, okay, so what else? Right now, the lawyer and the architect are talking to each other, and it is taking for friggin' ever. And I'm almost feeling like I should just take the contract into my own hands at this point. I had a really awesome call with a nearby company here in Chicago that went through the 1871 Tech Accelerator and all that. And they basically provide on-site childcare for places like mine, gyms, etc. So I'm waiting.
What company is this?
It's called Go Nanny. And one side of their business is like nanny, like Uber for nannies. Like you just need a nanny for like 2 hours and they'll provide that person. On the other side of the business is providing childcare for corporate settings like mine or gyms. What?
Well, now I've got questions. It sounds so exciting. Are they everywhere, or are they just Chicago, or what?
Right now, they're just Chicago. There is another similar place in Austin that what's her name? The gal from Soma told me about.
Yeah, Laura Schick.
Yeah, Studio Sitters, I think.
Would they be interested in scaling to all over the country and world? Because
yeah, she just got a round of angel investing, so she wants to.
Wow.
Great, because we've got a bunch of people. Yeah, we got people like waving their heads here. So
yeah, totally. And then
Yes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. I just turned you into like her business partner and made her salesperson for her. But that's so good. That's like, okay, this is why this is important, is because something like installing daycare into your space is so difficult. Mm-hmm. But then somebody like this who's already in an innovative, exciting, kind of fun, kind of interesting business, you could help her totally succeed, and then she becomes your best friend, and then she solves a huge problem for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are the people we are looking for.
Yeah. I just need a proposal from her. So I haven't heard from her in a few days, but once I get it. And then the last thing on my list, the thing I posted into the email group was I am meeting with my dear friend tomorrow, and I think that she would just be the most amazing community manager, and I need to figure out a way to afford her.
Got it. Just so I've got this all figured out. What's the name of the person you want to hire?
Jessica.
Jessica. Okay. And who's the Uber for Nannies lady?
Oh God, I forgot the founder's name. But the name of the company is Go Nanny. Go Nanny.
Okay. Cool. All right. So great. Thanks everybody. This is really exciting. We've got a lot of people on the call. I don't know if this is a record, but it's a lot of people. We're already pretty deep into the call just through intros, and that's fine. What I want to do is figure out how we can talk about some things that will be of value to most of the group. I think all of the things we talk about are eventually of value to everybody. So what I want to do is, while we talk about things, regardless of how directly germane it is to whatever's going on in your world. Be thinking about this general principle about who you should be reaching out to. Somebody like this GoNanny person that Jen is talking about, or somebody like this investor guy that Nanette was talking about who has an incubator he wants to expand. Those are the kinds of people where developing relationships becomes absolutely paramount, because a good relationship with these people, regardless of even if you do business with that individual, can lead to tremendous fruits in terms of saving you thousands of hours, saving you hundreds of thousands of dollars, all of these things. Somebody like Nanette, might have to go lease and build out a space and put down a deposit and buy furniture. Or this guy could be like a total savior for her, might be able to pay for all that stuff. Maybe not. Maybe we don't want to depend on him. But we certainly want to vet the possibility that this David Gartner guy could be somebody who could save a tremendous amount of trouble. Or maybe we determine, David, this guy, he's got his own thing. Maybe he's not. But David totally introduces you to his other rich investor friend who is the perfect fit. Boom. All of a sudden, just from a couple of, lunch meetings and coffees, you've got a huge leg up. And, I don't think any of us in this group is like independently super wealthy on our own. So we've got to get our legs up whenever we can by having these relationships. Anyway, that was my quick little rant. Let me ask, so we've got a couple people who threw questions into the discussion group. So I want to prioritize those. I saw Jen and Jadia who did that. But before we do that, does anybody have something that's really urgent, like that needs to happen in the next week that they'd like for us to prioritize in the discussion right now? Okay. So in that case, if you change your mind, let me know. I'd like to start with Jen because she's having a conversation with this person tomorrow, and she raised her hand in the online discussion group. To talk a little bit more about this person and how you want to go about hiring them and what kind of compensation opportunities we might be able to come up with there. So Jen, can you just tell us a little bit more about that current setup, maybe even if you want to get specific about what you think you can afford versus what you think this person needs. Just give us a super quick rundown there.
Okay, so her ask was $60,000 a year. That's what she was making before, and I think she's worth it. I guess it just depends on how much rolling in. Started this at 40,000, and she said, I'm sorry, I can't do that, but I'm open to some sort of a ramp up or a profit sharing. Let's both do some research, and we'll meet again in 2 weeks, which is tomorrow. So I went through I've read a number of different articles about this. I've read through a great thread on the co-working Google group, and a lot of people are just flat out against it, but I think that she is so terrific that she's really worth it. And I want to find a way to get her to the 60K and beyond. Quite frankly, I want to, I'd love for her to make six figures. So
Sure.
That's where we're at.
Okay, and so in terms of your current cash flow, what you're saying is that you can't right now afford a 60K full-time employee.
Not in my first month, no.
Right. Understandably. But if you hire this person and she's able to help you grow the business, you could very well be in a position to afford that higher salary not that long down the line.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I think she's worth it. I don't. This is not something I want to cheap out on.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit of background, she started a young professionals group with one of our oldest cultural institutions in the city, and now it is phenomenally successful, really due to her nurturing. So she's just so great at everything.
there's a lot of ways you can do this. For one, what was she doing before? Like, what's her vocational background?
So donor and volunteer engagement. And,
Lana, I'm going to mute you there. Okay, go ahead.
Donor and volunteer engagement in the nonprofit world.
And that she was doing that full time?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like what are the revenue streams she might have available to her in terms of freelancing or other.
Oh yeah, so she's also thought about setting up a nonprofit consulting business because she was contacted a lot by her colleagues in that field just for advice.
Okay, yeah, got it. So I'm thinking in terms of the delta, right? Like if you can pay her $40K cash, we have $20K cash left over in terms of monthly income, which is $1,600. We round it up to maybe $2K. If we can find a way for her to generate another $2,000 a month in revenue. So
Right.
part of this, I think, is probably to do this brainstorming with her.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably just useful for you to think about it in advance of this so that you know what you're willing to commit to in terms of what you can offer. So you might want to try to do some math in terms of sales incentives. You have already said that, people give you conflicting advice on this. Some people are very adamant you should not do sales incentives. I think that, so my personal opinion, and I'd love to hear the rest of the group's thoughts on this as well, is sales incentives should just be approached with extreme care. So what you don't want when you're giving someone a sales incentive is you say, I'll give you $50 or $100 for every new member. Then a person's out on the street just pulling everybody in. They're spamming people's inboxes and they're not necessarily motivated by culture fit, which creates huge problems, or retention, which creates problems as well. So
I totally hear that. And I think that if I didn't know her so well, I would be on board with that thought. But she's really not the type of person to sacrifice quality for quantity.
Of course. But you can also structure it in such a way to encourage a better recruiting and better retention. So, for example, you can structure the incentives to be higher for people who stick around longer. So it might be that you get a small upfront, but then if they make it past the 3-month mark, they get a bigger bonus. If they make it past the 6-month mark, they get a bigger bonus, right? And it's true that like a member that sticks around for 3 months or 6 months is worth a lot of money to you. And I don't have science behind this, but I'd say, if they make it past 3 months, then they're probably going to stick around for 6 to 12 months or more. And that's the overall lifetime value of that member to you is going to be many thousands of dollars. So part of this, and one of the things, honestly, that I don't know too many of us really ever get, have bothered to do is to calculate what's the value of a member and what are we willing to invest to get a member. So some of the more business-minded co-working folks do have that number. They'll say, a member is worth $5,000 to me, and my margin is, 20% or whatever it is. So I'm willing to spend up to, $500 per new member, whatever that number is. I don't know what that number is. It might vary very widely. None of us probably has the data to really know the number, but we should at least be able to come up with a guess. And then what you do is you can say, okay, anything that can get me a member for less than that amount of money, I should just do as much as I possibly can. And then, if I have a recruiting method that is above that number, then it's losing me money to do it. So I need to make some changes. So, basically you come up with a number where you say, this is a number I would be very happy to pay for every new member that comes my way. Or every member that's retained after a period of time. I think you could come up with an incentive structure there that, that at least could tide you over for the time being. And it might be modest for now, but, let's do some math and see where it comes up to. if you're like just saying right now, like if she just got $100 for every new member she signed up, then it's 20 new members makes her $2,000. Does that math make sense? Does it work? Yeah, it might be ambitious. It might not get her to her 2,000, and it might not be a number that you want to offer. So maybe we use that as a starting point and make some adjustments from there. But I would say that the incentive approach is just one thing to consider, and we got to be able to consider some other approaches as well.
I just want to say really quick, I also saw the suggestion of a flat 5% profit share, which again, I would consider because of who she is. But I'm sorry, I cut someone off.
Oh, I have a suggestion. This is something Lee and I were looking into because we were trying to come up with an equitable way to share the business and make sure that our 10-year friendship didn't go away. So we found this, there's a book by Mike Moyers. It's called Slicing the Pie.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that last week. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that might work for you guys. Aside from working for partners, it can work for employees too. And you actually have to keep track of your hours. And she would come up with what she deems her hourly rate based on how much she wants to make. And then you can decide at what point you want to start distributing funds in the pie based on how much your revenue is. So if she works 20 hours this week and 40 hours next week, and maybe you put there's different multipliers on different tasks. So if it's sales, maybe it's a bigger multiplier. Look into it, and it's a really interesting concept and has been used a lot. So that might work for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I would say the only other thing I want to add on the profit share, because it sounds very interesting, is the problem you run into on profit is how that gets calculated, and the way that the books are sorted, because it's very easy to determine profit to be non-existent forever. Yeah. So, you want to be able to make sure that you have a good logic there, and it might have to be a revenue share as opposed to a profit share. You'd have to really do that math to figure out, essentially, like, even if you're not running a profit, that you still give her an incentive. But I want to invite another option here, which comes back to that consulting and freelance opportunity. Because if she's able to generate revenue that doesn't come from your pocket, by virtue of being a visible part of your project, that she's able to do in her spare time, and also get some of her own passions and interests put out there, it might be something that makes everything easier for everybody. So what I'm picturing is, you said that she built a young professionals group and it's thriving and successful. So clearly she has a tremendous capability for building community and organizing people and doing all this stuff. And that should be something that she should be able to profit from, and that she should be able to do even better as a result of having the support of your community and your space. Having that home base is hugely valuable to her. So I'd almost want to see if there's a way that you and she could brainstorm the potential ways she might generate revenue as a independent business person, because that could just make everything easier if, for both of your sakes, she doesn't have to worry about the money coming from you to close that gap. And that diversifies her situation a little bit. And I'm even thinking ahead that, what's her path? Where is she going down the line? That, we want to be able to have that in mind as well. Mm-hmm. I'm giving you a lot. You're ending up with a lot of homework here, Jen. I don't know that we're solving it for you, but is there anything we can kind of dive into more here?
I don't think so. I think I need to talk to her because she was even a little conflicted. On the one hand, she said, I'm looking to put down roots somewhere. And then she said, oh, but I also have this idea for a consulting gig, but there's no way I can make it profitable right out of the gate. So that is, I might present two different options to her. I said, like you said.
Yeah, I'll just add, Jen, when we think about these negotiations, we have to remember we're dealing with humans, and humans aren't rational. And so a lot of times you have a deal that makes perfect sense on paper, but emotionally a person just is not feeling safe or ready or whatever, right? And then sometimes you have a deal that does not make sense, but people are like, you know what? This doesn't make sense, but I feel like it's going to work, and I feel like we're going to figure it out. And so let's do it anyway. Yeah. And what we want is for this person, Jessica, to do that latter thing. Where, she's going to have to do a little bit of a leap of faith that you're not going to necessarily have this all figured out, but you want her to feel a belief that you will figure it out. And ultimately that, I think, in terms of the energy and the intention you bring into the negotiation, if you come in with this attitude of, hey, Jessica, like, I don't have the answers, but I have some ideas, and I have a real strong commitment to making this successful with you. So I'm going to come from this perspective of we are going to figure this out. Then I think she's going to be able to feel, because ultimately what she wants is to feel safe, right? She's got rent to pay. She's got bills. She wants to feel a sense of security. And if she's not going to feel that from, like, I'm a big company that has a salary that will pay you, then she needs to feel that from, I'm a person who's committed to making this work. If she can feel that security, then it's going to be easier for her to take that jump.
100%.
Please let us know how it goes. I'm excited for this. And hit us with like specifics if you're working out the numbers and you want to throw it into Slack or, the discussion group.
Okay.
Because
thank you.
I think it would be a fun exercise for all of us to kind of like work out. Maybe we have a new toolkit template to throw in there of, how do I pay the person I can't afford? Feel free to share your work on that, and then go from there.
Thank you.
Sure. Cool. Jodia, you were asking about, you were talking about growing pains, and generally second location management, things like that. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about what those growing pains are, whatever you feel comfortable sharing, and let's see if we can come up with some ideas for how to work with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're soft opening first week, so this is going into the second week. And we kind of entered into this with a partner who we know and who a lot of people know. He's the entrepreneur in residence of that city, so he's extremely well-known business owner himself. And he was already in the building that we're going into, so he has a relationship with the landlord. So we thought that this is going to be fantastic, and it still is. But us kind of being a partner who's coming into a space where we don't know anyone yet, of course, it's been a little bit difficult with like trying to convince the landlord to let us do certain things. You're not the ones who have a relationship. I don't think he fully understands our business model and just denied giving us some private offices, which was something we were really banking on. Also, because our partner has a full-time of try to convince him that getting a community manager for that location is extremely important. But he's still convinced that he can do it himself. But every day during the soft opening, the door was not unlocked, and when we got there. So it's just little things like that. It's difficult because we don't want to have to be controlling it day to day, because we are, 45 minutes away and are trusting our partner. But at the same time, it seems like, this is supposed to be a second launch house. And if people are seeing our name on the door, we feel like a launch house, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you a couple like nasty business questions. Who's in charge? Like, what's the nature of the relationship there?
That is something that I think should have been solidified from the beginning, but just the nature of our CEO and this guy, they decided they didn't want to open a separate entity. Now our boss, the CEO, is kind of like, oh, like we should really set up a separate entity, but it's like, okay, we have to figure out who exactly owns that. So basically it was just kind of spoken, which is terrible, that he would handle outside sponsorships. We get a percentage, we handle member percentage, all the expenses are paid, and then those percentages are split. So it's a marriage between us, Launch House, him as the entrepreneur in residence, and also a third party, which is confusing as well, called Startup Lakewood, which kind of we thought was dissolving into us. So they no longer exist technically. So we're going to start doing some of their programs so that it still feels like it's alive. But yeah, everything was verbal, unfortunately, and we're kind of worrying about it now.
Okay, so there's a lease signed.
Yes.
And he's more of an informal licensee at this moment is kind of the best business relationship to view this as.
Yeah.
Whose name is on the lease?
His,
I believe.
Michael's.
He already has a lease with that landlord. He
Right.
took on a second lease and then entered into the partnership.
Okay,
with us.
so just in terms of like nasty business, you guys basically still control the Launch House name. So you could tell him like, stop using the name, but you don't control the space. So you can't like fire him and take over the space. Right? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So and you have a business arrangement in terms of how you're handling the rent and
Everything is being split 50-50.
okay. But at the end of the day, like if you guys, who pays the rent? Like who writes the check for the rent? Does he do it or you do it?
He does it.
He does it.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So what you've got is a relationship in which basically another person is operating their own space, but they're licensing your brand and your techniques and all those things, right?
Yes.
So that's where your lever of control is with the brand and those things. And that seems to be in need of further definition. Which is totally normal and natural. And these things happen, right? Like there's so many times when these things, just don't go by the book, and that's, it happens. So what we're really dealing with here, we can get into the specifics of the business and like the legal arrangements and what's required and all of that crap. But really like, it comes back to communication and trust and relationship and aligning interests. So similar to how I was kind of ranting earlier about the importance of relationships and the people who can save you a lot of time, there's a counter to this too, which is that certain people that you have relationships with, if you don't nurture that, could end up costing you a tremendous amount of trouble, right? So what I'm picturing is more than anything in terms of the technicalities of how this works, the relationship, the actual human relationship between you and this guy is absolutely paramount. We want to spend time with this person. We want to get to know what's going on in his life. What is he stressed out about? What are his dreams? What is he doing this weekend? Real human stuff, right? Does he like whiskey? Does he like kombucha? Like what's the entry point here for building bonds? Because you could have like this relationship could be really annoying for you and for him for a long time. And it could get ugly one day. We don't want to go that direction. This could be something where you guys are hanging out, you're having fish tacos because he really loves fish tacos. And then he tells you something personal. You tell him something personal. You guys form a bond. And then you say, hey, let's figure this business stuff out. Right. And like, then you're on track. Then you're in a place where the specifics of how it goes down are less important, because the more important thing is that you're aligning your interests and your values as people who know each other and trust each other. And this is why the methodology and the philosophy behind what we do in this group is so important, because that's what makes all the situations easier, is building that trust and taking that time. It's 45 minutes across town. when you're 45 minutes across town, it's really easy to just not see each other for like months at a time. And like, that's when stuff goes to hell. You know, like, I mean, how many people have had a roommate situation that's gone to hell, right? Like people that you've lived with and it's just gone to absolute shit. Like there's a reason that roommate situation, in my case, like I can think of a roommate, I feel really bad, but like the reason that roommate situation went to hell is because we never hung out for like months at a time. We stopped talking. The only communication we had was through like, you know, I'm making this up now, but like passive aggressive Post-it notes over the sink about who's washing the dishes or some shit, right? Like that's when things go to hell with your roommate, because you stop talking and you start just dealing with the problems. And that's the only time you communicate. And if you spend more time with your roommate, you make that time, even though it's not convenient, you make that time, everything gets a lot easier. And the trust gets built and those relationships get built. So you really can't overestimate the value of food, drink, quality time, like hanging out together. Does that make sense? Are you with me on that?
Yeah, I now realize, because we were trying to do a lot of this over the phone or with just one or two of us there, and I'm realizing now we really just need to like sit down over lunch and like really hash it out.
Yeah, and like we're being clever here, right? I want to know, what's this guy's favorite lunch? What does he drink? What is, you know, and if it's coffee, if it's kombucha,
maybe it's brunch rather than lunch.
Yeah, he loves mimosas. So
go to him,
have a
right?
brunch.
Like get him in his home base. Give him like a sense of like, you know, like take me to your favorite. Hey Bob, whatever his name is, like what's the best lunch spot in your side of town? Can you take me? Like, can you show it to me? I'm buying. Like, you know, show me your favorite lunch spot, right? Yeah. This is a 10-minute version of solving something that we could talk about for 4 hours, but.
No, that's a great start.
This is perfect. I think this will get us on the right track.
Because more than anything, we want to maintain this friendship. We love him. It's, you know, I think we just kind of both had a different idea of, and he's never done this before and we have. So I think he just kind of thought, oh yeah, I can do both my business and like community manage. And we tried to explain to him like what goes into it. So I think we just need to kind of sit down and be like, you know what, let's help both of us and, you know, work this out. So
yeah,
it's not stressful on both sides. Anything, we love him. He's our friend.
Right. Yeah, and I would say like stay in the friend, like, you know, stay away from business a little bit. Like, you know, get into the, you know, the rest of it, just to kind of, and offer up a little bit of your own too. People are so much more invited to be vulnerable when you offer it first. You know, and so if you can come with a little bit of openness and vulnerability around your own situation, that makes it easier for people to feel invited and respected. You know, and people love to feel helpful. So you could even, you know, one of the best ways you solve a problem, especially with somebody who's being a pain, is to invite them to help you, right? So you can say like, hey, you know, I really could use your help. Oh, Jadia. Of course, I would love to help. How can I help you? Well, I'm feeling really stressed out because I'm trying to manage this location, and I'm feeling really worried because I don't know what's going on your side, and I'm not sure what to do, right? And you're making it kind of open-ended, and you're not like blaming him. I'm not saying like I'm stressed out because you suck. You know, it's like I'm stressed out because I'm trying to manage this stuff, and I'm not really sure what to do. But I think you should be, you know, you can help me with this. Is this something we could figure out together? You know, and leaving that a little bit open-ended is really great, because he can be like, oh man, honestly, I'm feeling the same way. I'm super stressed out. I'm trying to manage these two businesses and I'm really worried. I just want to make you guys happy. So I'm trying to push too hard, blah, 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 you know, and then he opens up and now you're money, right? That kind of stuff is so valuable, and you can do this with members who are giving you problems, you know, and other, you know, other stakeholders, other people involved, employees. This is universal stuff. It's management stuff, and the better we can get at it, the more we can practice it, the more it will help us head off other problems down the line. Because I'll tell you guys, we could talk all day about like office space management stuff, software, and which photocopy machine to buy and all that junk. And like, it's valuable and it's important because best practices will save us a lot of headaches. But man, I mean, I did it for 8 years. You know, that shit's going to happen. It's just, we're going to deal with it. But like, it's the relationships we have and the people that we do this with and the time that we spend with each other that makes this whole thing worth it. And so, you know, getting into alignment, seeking harmony with the people that we deal with along the way in this journey is going to make this whole thing worthwhile, regardless of how profitable the business is or when it shuts down, whether it's in 2 years or 20 years. So you got me a little philosophical today, but so
Thanks. We appreciate it.
All right, so we got a few minutes left. I'd love to wrap up with a challenge to each of you. And if we get there, great. If we don't get there, so be it. But maybe we can just do this. We can go around the table one more time and just tell me one person that you are going to get tacos or coffee or beer or something with by next week, who's going to help you, potentially really help you with making your thing the next step. I already have an idea of what the answer is for Jadia and for Nanette and a couple of you, but maybe just say it anyway. And if you know what that beverage or food item is, then you can say that too. Nanette and Jadia, I'm going to start with you since you're at the top of the screen. Nanette, go.
Well, I guess, yes, we're meeting with David Gardner, and very little nervous about it because he's pretty high roller as far as investing. But I was just thinking that of someone that maybe we should meet with that is a little bit more approachable, and it's this woman who's been in Cary for maybe her whole life and has actually started an office space 30 years ago. But so she's kind of retired now, but I bet she still has some money she'd like to invest.
What's her name?
And if anything, she might be a really good supporter of us and maybe be interested in helping us out. So
what's her name?
Sheila Ogle.
Does Sheila know somebody who can help you?
Oh, she knows everybody.
100% yes. Okay. We're going to find out what Sheila's favorite thing is, right? Take a really good guess.
Tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best tea house in town, right?
Yeah, definitely.
David is a high roller, so he's the one you want to hang out with at the like fancy hotel bar where there's like, you know, martini. You know, wherever is like the $14 cocktail is where you want to hang out.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We'll buy him one.
This is so fun. Jadia, talk to me.
Yeah, so of course our partner Michael, which we were just talking about, he does live mimosas. He's a bit of high and low. Like you can catch him doing really high stuff, and then also like just bringing in peg. So we'll figure out what he wants. And also we've been talking a lot about maybe forming some co-working alliance here in Cleveland with the other co-working spaces because we're all pretty siloed and trying to figure out how we collab and get to know each other a bit more. So we've already been working on the other community managers of those spaces. But I think I want to bring them all under one roof.
That you already know how you're going to do that, right? I mean,
yeah. For sure.
Totally yes, right? Like definitely do that. And the answer there is like get everyone's names and emails from all the other spaces and then pick a date, you know, to say, hey, let's get tacos on Monday, June 4th at 12 at this place. Are you in? You know, and you get 5 yeses and you're on your way, right? Okay. We're at 1 o'clock, but if y'all want to spot me 2 more minutes, let's get through the rest of the group here. I'm going to Kiri and Lada next. Do you have people in mind, Kiri? A person that you can meet up with who can help you?
When I opened my bank account about a month ago, the bank manager invited me to go to his business networking group. And so I have been avoiding it. But it's fine. Now that we know where the space is going to be, I need to take him up on the offer and go with Wednesday.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Kiri. All right, Lada and then Ryan.
Oh, well, let me do mine real quick because I actually have to go run into do another meeting over here. Yeah. I'm probably gonna I'm going to have to say either Gene Felizme or David Bissett. They're the two guys that we know who've done like WordCamp Miami. So, taking them out for tacos would definitely be the best thing for me. So I can actually have a conversation and, start talking to the people who are in their general group to start coming to the space.
Tacos and cocktails. I'm telling you guys, we're going to make so much money and help so many people just because we're having fun and hanging out. That's what we're going to do. All right, Herman, you're up.
Basically, there is a local coffee shop called Plum Coffee, and I've met the owner before. I think I'm going to go approach him about maybe kind of having this little referral program where they have some people coming in from their shop, and maybe they could sponsor some of our community events
and get their coffee in your space.
Yeah.
Y'all could have a regular weekly coffee shipment and a little sign in your kitchen or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
What's the owner's name?
My wife has it written down somewhere. I don't remember it.
You'll get it. You guys, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
You're all going to meet with one person by the time we hang out again. You're going to tell me how it went. You're going to tell me what you ate and drank. And we're going to build little families of people, and we're going to have fun changing the world for the better. Yeah? We good?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I should tell you guys one person that I'm going to meet with, but I have no idea who it would be. I'm going to meet with my friend Hector. Hector is running a company called Included that does services for co-working spaces, various things, but he moved to New York. He's the sweetest guy. We have a lot in common. We're both like serving co-working spaces, and he might be able to help me a lot. So I'm going to meet with Herman. There you go. I'm sorry, Hector. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys. I will talk to you in 1 week. Please hit the group and let us know how it goes this week.
Oh, Tony? One quick question since we're kind of new. Where do we find the toolkit again?
It should be a folder in Google Drive that is shared with you. Okay. And if you need to share it over, with Eddie, just shoot me an email.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Keep rocking, guys. Be awesome.
Bye.
I was looking in a toolkit